I've waited 4 years for this moment.
I've waited 4 years for this moment. Makina's hands went still. The cleaning gloves she'd been pulling off slipped from her fingers and hit the marble floor without a sound. For a second, she thought she misheard him. Men like Zaire Crown didn't say things like that. Not to women like her. Not ever. She turned slowly. He stood near the kitchen island, shirt sleeves rolled to his elbows, jaw tight like he was barely holding himself together. He wasn't smiling. Wasn't moving closer. He looked like a man who'd been carrying something heavy for too long and finally set it down. "What moment?" she asked. Her voice came out careful, guarded. "Hi, viewers. Kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family. Enjoy the story." Zaire took a breath. "For you to finally look at me, not as your boss, not as some kid, but as a man who's loved you since the day you walked into this house and forgot my name by morning." Her chest tightened. 4 years ago, she did forget him. She dismissed him as too young, too quiet, too harmless to notice a woman like her. She was older, tired, surviving. Romance wasn't something she could afford to think about, so she didn't. But he never forgot her. Now he was 27, a billionaire whose decisions moved entire cities, and she was 35, still cleaning houses, still wearing gloves in a penthouse he owned. The gap between them wasn't just age, it was everything. "You don't mean that," she said. "I do," he replied. His voice didn't shake. It was steady. Too steady. Like he'd rehearsed this 1,000 times in his head. She shook her head. "You're younger than me. You're my employer. This is complicated," he finished. "I know. That's why I waited." The word hung in the air between them like smoke. Waited. Most men didn't wait. Most men with power took what they wanted and called it destiny. But Zaire didn't touch her, didn't corner her, didn't use his money or influence to trap her into anything. For 4 years he kept his distance, and now she understood why, because touching her too soon would have taken away her choice. "You think waiting makes this okay?" she asked. "No," he said. "I think waiting makes it honest." Her pulse hammered in her ears. She wanted to walk out, wanted to grab her things and leave and never come back. But her feet wouldn't move. Because somewhere deep down, beneath all the fear and doubt, a part of her had noticed him too. The way he never raised his voice. The way he asked if she needed anything before she had to ask. The way he looked at her like she mattered. And that terrified her more than anything. How many powerful men actually wait? How many choose respect over control? If you've ever met one, you know how rare that is. And if you haven't, maybe that's the problem. "I can't do this," she whispered. Zaire nodded. He didn't argue, didn't beg. He just stood there, looking at her like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. "I know," he said quietly, "but I needed you to know the truth." Makina opened her mouth to respond, to say something, anything. But before she could speak, he said her name again, softer this time, like it hurt. "Makina, please don't walk away yet." And in that moment, she realized something that made her blood run cold. He wasn't asking her to stay because he needed her. He was asking because he knew what came next. 4 years earlier, Makina didn't believe in moments like the one Zaire just described. She believed in alarm clocks, in rent that came due whether you were ready or not, in hands that ached after 10-hour shifts, and backs that never stopped reminding you how hard you worked. Romance was something other women had time for. Women with savings accounts and weekends off. Women whose biggest worry wasn't whether their sister's school fees would clear before the deadline. Makina's life ran on a schedule she didn't control. Wake up at 5. Clean 3 houses by noon. Pick up groceries, pay bills, sleep, repeat. There was no space for dreaming. Dreaming didn't put food on the table, So when her supervisor called about a new assignment, McKenna listened with one ear and skepticism in the other. Penthouse. Private residence. Young owner. High pay. Young owner. That's where McKenna almost said no. Young and rich usually meant entitled. It meant crossed boundaries and uncomfortable conversations she didn't have the energy to navigate. But then her supervisor mentioned the pay. Double her usual rate. And McKenna's sister's tuition bill sat on her kitchen counter like a ticking clock. She said yes. The first time she walked into that penthouse, the silence hit her before anything else. No music, no laughter, just glass walls and white floors that looked expensive but felt empty, like a showroom, like no one actually lived there. The owner stood near the window, phone pressed to his ear. He looked young, not in a childish way but in a way that told her he hadn't been worn down yet, hadn't lived long enough to know what exhaustion tasted like at the end of every day. McKenna didn't stare. Staring invited conversation. Conversation invited problems. She kept her head down and started cleaning. She worked quietly, efficiently, the way she always did. But then the chair tipped. The sound echoed too loud in that silent space. McKenna froze. She braced herself for irritation. For the kind of sharp comment people like him usually made when staff messed up. But when he turned around, there was no anger on his face. Just curiosity. Like he'd forgotten someone else was in the room. "What's your name?" he asked. His voice was calm, almost polite. That surprised her. "McKenna," she said. He repeated it. Slowly. Like he was memorizing it. McKenna. Something about the way he said it made her uncomfortable. Not in a dangerous way. In a way that felt too personal. Too close. She lowered her eyes and reminded herself of three things. He's younger than you. He's your employer. This is not your life. She finished her work and left. That night, McKenna went home, ate a cold sandwich, and fell asleep before 9. She didn't think about him. Didn't think about the penthouse. Didn't think about how he said her name like it meant something. She slept peacefully. Zaire Crown didn't sleep at all. He stood in that same empty penthouse, staring at the spot where she'd been hours earlier. He replayed the moment over and over in his head. The way she answered his question. The way she didn't look at him longer than necessary. The way she left, without hesitation. For the first time in his life, someone looked at him and felt absolutely nothing. No nervousness. No interest. No attempt to impress him or get closer. She treated him like furniture. Like background noise. And that disturbed him more than any compliment ever had. Most people wanted something from him. Money. Access. Approval. But McKenna wanted nothing. She didn't even want to be noticed. Zaire sat down on the edge of his bed and stared at his hands. He told himself it was just curiosity, that he'd forget her by morning like she probably forgot him. But deep down, he already knew the truth. He wouldn't forget her. And 4 years later, he'd prove it. But what Zaire didn't know yet was that forgetting someone and being forgotten by them are two very different kinds of pain, and only one of them makes you wait 4 years to speak. The question is, which one hurts more? Zaire learned control early, not the kind you choose, the kind that gets beaten into you by a father who never smiled unless you earned it. His father didn't raise him with love. He raised him with expectations. Every report card, every business decision, every word Zaire spoke in public was measured against a standard he could never quite reach. Affection wasn't free. It came with conditions. And mistakes weren't just mistakes. They were stored, remembered, used against you when it mattered most. By 23, Zaire inherited the company and everything that came with it. The board meetings, the pressure, the enemies his father made and left behind like landmines. People praised him, called him a genius, a visionary. But behind closed doors, they wanted something. A favor, a deal, a piece of him they could use later. Everyone wanted something, except McKenna. and that's what haunted him. She didn't flirt, didn't try to impress him, didn't soften her voice or laugh at things that weren't funny. She looked at him the way you look at furniture. Present, unremarkable, forgettable. Zaire told himself it was just curiosity, that he'd move on, that it didn't mean anything. Then came the files. One evening, Zaire walked into his private office and found McKenna standing by the shelves. Not snooping, not stealing, just standing there, staring at the labels like something was wrong. She stepped back the second she saw him. "I'm sorry, I thought something looked off." Zaire frowned and checked the shelf. The labels were mismatched, slightly. Just enough to cause confusion if someone wasn't paying attention. Just enough to cause disaster. Those files contained secrets his father buried years ago. Contracts that shouldn't exist. Payments that never made it into official records. If anyone found them, the company wouldn't just take a hit. It would collapse. Zaire corrected the error silently. He didn't say anything to McKenna. Didn't thank her. Didn't explain why those files mattered. But weeks later, when he traced how close he'd come to losing everything, one truth hit him hard. McKenna saved him. Without knowing it. Without asking for credit. Without expecting anything in return. That was the moment curiosity became respect, and respect became something far more dangerous. Because Zaire didn't just want her, he admired her, and admiration, he realized, was worse than desire. Desire fades, admiration grows roots. He started noticing things, the way her hands trembled after long shifts, the way her shoes were worn at the edges, the way she smiled politely but never freely. Like happiness was something she didn't have permission to feel. And Zaire understood something about himself in that moment, something that terrified him. He could have her if he wanted. He had the money, the power, the influence, one word, and he could make her dependent on him. One favor and she'd owe him. One move and he could trap her in a situation where saying no wasn't really an option. But if he did that, he'd become his father. A man who took what he wanted and called it love. A man who controlled people and called it care. A man who never gave anyone a real choice. And Zaire refused to be that, so he made a decision that night, a decision that would cost him 4 years of silence. He would never touch her, never flirt, never use his power to corner her into anything she didn't choose freely. If McKenna ever chose him, it would be because she wanted to, not because she felt trapped. Not because she was afraid, not because he gave her no other option. How many men with power choose restraint over control? How many wait when they could take? If you know one, hold on to that, because men like that are rarer than you think. Zaire looked at McKenna one last time as she finished her work and left that evening. She didn't look back, didn't wave, didn't acknowledge him at all. And that's when he knew. Waiting wouldn't be easy. It would be torture. But it was the only way to prove he wasn't like his father. The only way to prove his love was real. But what Zaire didn't know yet was that waiting 4 years would change him in ways he couldn't predict. And when the moment finally came to speak, the words wouldn't just confess his love. They'd reveal a secret that could destroy them both. The decision to wait nearly broke him. Zaire stood in his office the night he made that choice, staring at the city lights below. He could have her. One move, one word, one carefully placed favor, and she'd have no choice but to stay close. But that's exactly what his father would have done. So Zaire made a promise to himself. He would never touch her, never flirt, never use his power to trap her into anything she didn't choose freely. If McKenna ever came to him, it would be because she wanted to, not because she needed to. 4 years. That's how long he waited. And during those 4 years, he watched her quietly, not in a creepy way, in a way that made him see everything she tried to hide. He noticed when her shoes started wearing thin at the edges, when her hands shook after double shifts, when she smiled at people but never for herself, when exhaustion lived in her eyes like a permanent resident. Then he learned about her sister's school fees, McKenna was paying them alone. Every semester, on time, even when it meant she went without things she needed. Zaire didn't ask her about it, didn't offer help directly, because offering help would have made her feel indebted. And debt wasn't choice, so he paid the fees anonymously, routed the payments through a scholarship fund his company ran, made it look like her sister earned it through merit. McKenna never knew. A few months later, Zaire found out her neighborhood wasn't safe. Break-ins, harassment, the kind of place where people looked over their shoulders after dark. He upgraded the security, added cameras, hired a patrol, made it look like a city initiative. McKenna never knew that either. Every time he helped her, he made sure she couldn't trace it back to him, because the moment she knew, everything would change. She'd feel obligated, grateful, trapped. And Zaire refused to trap her. But watching her from a distance came with its own kind of torture. He saw her exhaustion, her struggles, her quiet strength. And he couldn't do more without crossing the line he promised himself he'd never cross. So, he waited. And during those 4 years, something unexpected happened. McKenna started noticing him too, not in an obvious way, but in small moments, the way he never raised his voice, the way he asked if she needed anything before she had to ask, the way he respected her space even when other employers didn't. She told herself he was just professional, just polite, just younger and less complicated than the men she usually dealt with. But deep down she felt it, that strange pull, that uncomfortable awareness. He never crossed a line, and somehow that made him harder to forget. Most men took, he didn't. Most men demanded attention. He gave space. Most men made her feel small. He made her feel seen. And that terrified her more than attraction ever could, because men like Zaire didn't exist in her world, men with power who chose restraint, men with money who didn't use it as leverage, men who could have anything they wanted but chose to wait. It didn't make sense, and things that didn't make sense were dangerous, so McKenna kept her distance, reminded herself of the age gap, the class difference, the impossibility of it all. She told herself it was just her imagination, that he was being professional, that she was reading too much into politeness, but then came the gala. McKenna wasn't supposed to work events. She cleaned private residences, stayed behind the scenes, invisible. But someone called in sick that week. The company needed extra staff. Overtime pay was offered, and McKenna's rent was due. She said yes. The night of the gala, she put on the standard uniform. Black and white, clean, professional, forgettable. She walked into the ballroom and felt the weight of wealth everywhere. Cameras flashed, laughter echoed off marble floors. People performed happiness in designer clothes. McKenna moved through the crowd quietly. Tray balanced, expression neutral. She hated events like this. They turned working people into decorations, into background noise. Then she felt it. A stare. Heavy. Intentional. Unavoidable. She looked up. Zaire stood across the room. Glass of water in his hand, not champagne. His posture was calm, but his eyes were locked on her like he'd reached some kind of breaking point. Her stomach tightened. She looked away quickly and kept moving. But the feeling didn't leave. Later, in a quiet hallway away from the music, she heard footsteps behind her. Then, his voice. McKenna. She turned too fast. Her heart pounded, and that's when she saw it in his eyes. This wasn't politeness. This wasn't professional distance. This was intention. And after 4 years of silence, Zaire was about to say the words that would change everything. But what he didn't know yet was that his confession wouldn't just reveal his feelings. It would uncover a truth about her mother that neither of them was ready for. "How do you know my name?" McKenna's voice came out sharper than she intended. The hallway felt too small suddenly, too quiet. The music from the ballroom was muffled behind closed doors. Zaire stood a few feet away, hands in his, pockets, looking at her like he'd been holding his breath for years and finally decided to let it out. "I've always known it," he said. Something about the way he said that made her uneasy. Not scared, just aware. Like the ground beneath her feet wasn't as solid as she thought. "You shouldn't be back here," she said, glancing toward the ballroom. "People will talk." "Let them." That's when she realized this wasn't recklessness. It was intention. He didn't stumble into this hallway. He followed her. Zaire stepped closer, then stopped himself, like he was fighting his own instincts. "I'm not a boy anymore," he said quietly. McKenna stiffened. "This isn't appropriate." "I know," he replied. "That's why I waited." Her heart started racing. Waited. That word again. The one that made everything feel dangerous. "Why now?" she asked. Zaire took a slow breath. His jaw tightened like he was deciding whether to say something that couldn't be unsaid. "Because there's something about you that you deserve to know." McKenna crossed her arms. "I don't need to know anything." "Yes, you do." His voice dropped. 4 years ago, you saved my company." She frowned. "I didn't save anything. I cleaned your house." "You noticed the files," he said. "The ones that were mislabeled." McKenna's stomach dropped. She remembered that day. The shelf in his office. The labels that didn't match. She thought she was just being helpful. She didn't think it mattered. "Those files," Zaire continued, "contained secrets my father buried, secrets that could have destroyed everything. If you hadn't noticed, I would have lost the company, lost everything." McKenna shook her head. "That's not my business." "It became your business the moment you walked into my life." "Stop," she said, her voice cracked. "Whatever you think this is, it's not." Zaire looked at her with an intensity that made her want to run, but her feet wouldn't move. "I didn't plan this," he said. "I didn't want to feel this way, but I do, and I've spent 4 years keeping my distance because I knew if I crossed one line, I'd take away your choice." McKenna's chest ached. She wanted to believe he was lying, that this was some game rich people played when they got bored, but the look in his eyes wasn't boredom, it was pain. "You're younger than me," she said again, like repeating it would make it matter. "I know. You're my employer. I know. This can't happen." "I know," he said softly. "But you still deserve the truth." McKenna took a step back. "What truth?" And that's when Zaire said the one thing that made her blood turn cold. "Your mother." The hallway tilted. The air left her lungs. "What did you just say?" Zaire's face changed. Regret, fear, something darker. 4 years ago, he began carefully. "A woman worked in one of my father's private apartments. She found documents, dangerous ones. She disappeared soon after." McKenna's hands started shaking. "My mother is dead." "I know," Zaire said quietly. "And my father knew her." The world stopped. McKenna couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The walls felt like they were closing in. "You're lying." "I wish I was." Her voice came out as a whisper. "You brought me into your life knowing this?" Zaire looked at her with something that might have been guilt. Or love. Or both. "At first I didn't know," he said. "When I found out, I could have buried it. Could have kept you far away. But I didn't." "Why?" Her voice broke. "Because the woman I love is her daughter," he said, "and I refuse to become my father." McKenna stared at him, torn between fury and fear, between wanting to scream and wanting to collapse. Some secrets don't just hurt the people who keep them. They destroy the people who uncover them. And if you've ever learned something you wish you could unlearn, you know exactly what McKenna felt in that moment. "You kept me close," she whispered. "You watched me." "I protected you," Zaire said. "I never touched you, never forced you, never stole your choice. Tears burned her eyes. You're asking me to believe you? I'm asking you to let me explain. McKenna shook her head. She couldn't do this, couldn't process this. Not here, not now. I need air. She turned to leave, and Zaire let her go. But as McKenna walked away, one thought screamed louder than everything else. If Zaire's father knew her mother and her mother disappeared after finding dangerous documents, then her mother's death wasn't an accident. It was a cover-up, and McKenna just became the only person alive who could prove it. McKenna's hands wouldn't stop shaking. She stood in the hallway staring at Zaire like he'd just ripped open a wound she didn't know existed. Her mother, his father, documents, disappearance. The words didn't fit together. They couldn't, because if they did, everything she thought she knew about her life was a lie. Say that again, she whispered. Zaire's face was tight, pained, like he'd been carrying this secret for so long it had started eating him, alive. My father, he said slowly, knew your mother. McKenna felt her knees weaken. My mother worked for a lot of people. That doesn't mean anything. It does when she found documents she wasn't supposed to see. The air left the room. McKenna's mother died 6 years ago. The official story was a car accident. Late night, slippery roads, no witnesses. Just another tragedy that happened to poor people who couldn't afford safer cars or safer neighborhoods. But now, Zaire was standing here telling her it wasn't an accident. It was a cover-up. You're lying, she said. But even as she said it, she knew he wasn't. I found out 2 years ago, Zaire said. I was going through my father's private files, cleaning up the mess he left behind. That's when I saw her name. And yours. McKenna's chest tightened. You knew who I was before I ever walked into your house. Zaire nodded. Not at first, but when I pieced it together, yes, I knew. And you still brought me in? Her voice rose. You kept me close knowing what your father did? I didn't know what he did, Zaire said quickly. I knew he was involved. I knew she disappeared, but I didn't know if he caused it or just covered it up after. That's the same thing, McKenna shouted. Zaire flinched but didn't argue, because she was right. Guilt by association, guilt by silence. It didn't matter. His father's hands were dirty, and Zaire kept McKenna close anyway. Why didn't you tell me? She asked, her voice cracked. Because I didn't want to hurt you, Zaire said, and because I was afraid if I told you, you'd leave before I could protect you. Protect me? McKenna laughed bitterly. From what? From you? From them, Zaire said. The people my father worked with, the ones who buried those documents. They're still out there. And if they knew you existed, if they knew you were her daughter, they'd come for you. McKenna felt the walls closing in. Her mother didn't just die. She was silenced, and now McKenna was standing in the middle of the same dangerous game without even knowing the rules. You should have told me, she said. I know. You should have stayed away from me. I tried, Zaire said quietly. For 4 years I tried, but I couldn't. McKenna stared at him, at this man who claimed to love her, this man who kept life-destroying secrets, this man who was younger, richer, and more dangerous than anyone she'd ever let close. You're younger than me, she said again, like it was the only defense she had left. I know, Zaire replied, and I know this is complicated. I know you have every right to walk away, but I need you to understand something. What? I'm not my father, he said. His voice shook. I didn't hurt your mother. I didn't cover it up. I didn't even know until it was too late. But I swear to you, McKenna, I will spend the rest of my life making sure no one ever hurts you the way they hurt her. McKenna felt tears burn her eyes. She wanted to believe him. Wanted to believe that love could exist in the middle of all this pain and betrayal. But how do you trust someone whose family destroyed yours? How do you choose love when it's built on the bones of your own mother? I can't do this, she whispered. Zaire nodded. He didn't beg, didn't grab her arm, didn't try to stop her. He just let her go. And that, more than anything, broke her. Because letting someone walk away when you love them is the hardest thing you can do. And Zaire did it without hesitation. Not because he didn't care, but because he cared too much to trap her. McKenna turned and walked toward the exit. Her vision blurred. Her chest ached. She didn't know where she was going. She just knew she couldn't stay. But as she pushed through the doors and stepped into the cold night air, her phone buzzed in her pocket. A message from an unknown number. She opened it, and her blood turned to ice. We know you talked to him. Walk away now, or you'll end up like your mother. McKenna's hands froze. She looked back at the building, at the gala, at the life she was trying to escape. And she realized something terrifying. Walking away wasn't going to save her, because whoever killed her mother was still watching, and they just made their move. McKenna didn't sleep that night. She sat on her couch staring at the threatening text message until her eyes burned. We know you talked to him. Walk away now or you'll end up like your mother. Her mother's face flashed through her mind. The funeral, the closed casket, the way everyone said it was just a tragic accident. But it wasn't. And now McKenna was next. She deleted the message, turned off her phone, tried to breathe. But the walls of her small apartment felt like they were closing in. Everything she thought she knew about her life had shattered in one night. Her mother, Zaire, the secrets, the danger. She couldn't go back to work, couldn't face him, couldn't pretend everything was normal when nothing was, so she didn't. Days passed, no calls, no messages, no explanations. McKenna stayed home, locked her doors, avoided the windows. She told herself she was being paranoid, that the text was just a scare tactic. But deep down she knew better. Her sister called twice. McKenna didn't answer. She couldn't explain what was happening without putting her sister in danger too. On the third day, McKenna forced herself to turn on the TV. She needed noise, something to drown out the thoughts screaming in her head. That's when she saw it. Breaking news. Red letters scrolling across the screen. Crown Holdings under investigation. McKenna's breath caught. The camera cut to a press conference. Reporters crowded around a podium. Cameras flashed, and there stood Zaire. He looked different, older somehow. Tired in a way she'd never seen before. His suit was perfect, but his eyes were hollow. I take full responsibility, he said into the microphones. The reporters erupted with questions. He didn't answer. Any wrongdoing tied to Crown Holdings falls on me, he continued. My father built this company on secrets. I'm ending that today. McKenna's hands covered her mouth. What about the allegations? A reporter shouted. True, Zaire said flatly. The offshore accounts? Mine to answer for. The buried documents, being released to authorities as we speak. The room exploded. Reporters yelled over each other. Cameras clicked like machine guns. Zaire stood there calmly, like a man who'd already accepted his fate. I will cooperate fully with any investigation, he said. That's all. He walked off the stage. McKenna stared at the screen in disbelief. He was destroying himself, his company, his reputation, everything. For her. Because if he buried the truth, she'd never be safe. The people who killed her mother would keep coming, keep threatening, keep silencing anyone who got too close. But if Zaire exposed everything publicly, he'd take the fall. He'd lose everything, but she'd be protected, because once the truth was out, there was nothing left to kill her for. McKenna felt her knees give out. She sank onto the couch, hands shaking. How many people would destroy their entire life to save someone else? How many would choose truth over power? If you've ever watched someone sacrifice everything for you, you know that kind of love doesn't just hurt. It changes you. Her phone buzzed. She'd turned it back on without thinking. A notification. A news alert. Zaire Crown steps down as CEO, board votes unanimously to remove him. Another notification. Investors pull funding from Crown Holdings. Stock crashes. Another. Criminal charges expected within days. McKenna couldn't breathe. He was losing everything. And he did it without asking her permission, without demanding anything in return. He just did it. Because that's what love looked like when it wasn't selfish, when it didn't take, when it gave everything and asked for nothing. McKenna grabbed her keys. She didn't know what she was going to say, didn't know if he'd even want to see her after she walked away. But she knew one thing. If she didn't go to him now, she'd regret it for the rest of her life. She drove across the city. Her hands gripped the steering wheel so tight her knuckles turned white. When she pulled up to his building, the media was already swarming outside. Cameras, reporters, chaos. McKenna pushed through the crowd. Security tried to stop her. "I need to see him," she said. "He's not taking visitors." "Tell him McKenna's here." The guard hesitated, then spoke into his radio. A moment later, he stepped aside. McKenna took the elevator up to the penthouse. Her heart pounded with every floor. When the doors opened, she stepped into the same space where this all started. But everything was different now. Boxes everywhere. Furniture gone. The place looked gutted. And in the middle of it all stood Zaire. He turned when he heard her footsteps. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then McKenna saw something on the table beside him. An envelope, addressed to her. "What is that?" she asked. Zaire looked at it, then back at her. "The truth," he said quietly. "Everything my father did, everything I found. I was going to send it to you before I disappeared." McKenna's voice shook. "Disappeared where?" Zaire didn't answer, and that's when she realized. He wasn't just stepping down, he was leaving, forever. "You're leaving?" McKenna's voice cracked. Zaire looked at her with eyes that had already said goodbye. "It's safer this way." "Safer for who?" she asked. "For me? Or for you?" "For you," he said without hesitation. "Always for you." McKenna felt her chest cave in. This wasn't just about stepping down. This was exile. Disappearance. The kind of leaving you don't come back from. "When?" she whispered. "Tonight." The word hit her like a punch. Zaire moved toward the window. The city stretched out below them. The same view they'd stood in front of years ago when everything was simpler, when she was just the maid and he was just the boy who noticed her. "The board voted me out this morning," he said. "Investors are pulling out by the hour. By tomorrow, Crown Holdings will be a ghost of what it was." "And you're just letting it happen?" "Yes." "Why?" Zaire turned to face her. "Because the only way to protect you was to burn it all down. My father built that company on lies. On secrets people killed to keep hidden. As long as Crown Holdings existed, you'd never be safe." McKenna shook her head. "You didn't have to do this." "Yes, I did. You could have just told me the truth and walked away." "And let them come after you?" Zaire's voice rose for the first time. "Let them threaten you? Silence you the way they silenced your mother? No, I'd rather lose everything than let that happen." McKenna felt tears burn her eyes. "You barely know me." "I've known you for 4 years," Zaire said quietly. "I know you work double shifts to pay your sister's tuition. I know you give more than you take. I know you're stronger than anyone I've ever met. And I know that loving you was the easiest thing I've ever done." The words hung in the air. McKenna wanted to be angry, wanted to tell him he was a fool for throwing his life away, but all she felt was grief. Because love like this didn't exist in her world. Men didn't sacrifice empires for women like her. They used women, left them, forgot them. But Zaire did the opposite. He remembered her when she forgot him. He waited when he could have taken. He destroyed himself when he could have destroyed her. and now he was leaving. "Where will you go?" she asked. "Somewhere quiet," he said. "Somewhere they won't look." "And if I wanted to find you?" Zaire's face softened. "Then you'd find me." He picked up the envelope from the table and held it out to her. "Everything's in here," he said. "Documents, names, proof. If anything happens to me, take it to the authorities. They'll know what to do." McKenna took the envelope with shaking hands. It felt heavier than it should. "This is goodbye," she whispered. Zaire nodded. "Unless you don't want it to be." McKenna looked at him. At this man who gave up everything without asking for anything in return. This man who loved her enough to let her choose. "I don't know what I want," she admitted. "That's okay," Zaire said. "You don't have to decide now." He walked toward the door. Each step felt like the end of something that never got the chance to begin. McKenna watched him go. Watched him pick up a single bag. Watched him take one last look at the penthouse that used to be his. Then he stopped. "McKenna," he said without turning around. "If you ever need me, I'll come back. No matter where I am. No matter what it costs. You just have to ask." And then he was gone. The door closed behind him. McKenna stood in the empty penthouse, clutching the envelope, tears streaming down her face. She thought about running after him. Thought about telling him to stay. Thought about choosing him the way he chose her. But her feet wouldn't move. Because choosing him meant accepting that her mother's death wasn't random. That the life she built was built on lies. That love didn't fix trauma. It just made you brave enough to face it. McKenna looked down at the envelope in her hands, and that's when she saw it. A note tucked into the corner, handwritten, recent. She pulled it out and read the words that made her blood run cold. "They're watching your sister. If you open this envelope, they'll know. Choose carefully." McKenna's hands froze. Zaire didn't just leave to protect her. He left because staying would have put her sister in danger. And whoever sent that note wanted McKenna to know one thing. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. McKenna didn't think. She just moved. The note about her sister burned in her mind, but something else burned hotter. The realization that Zaire had been protecting her all along, that everything he did, every sacrifice he made, was to keep her safe. And she let him walk away. She grabbed her keys and ran. The drive felt endless. Every red light, every slow car, every second that passed felt like she was losing him all over again. When she finally reached his building, the media was gone. The chaos had moved on to the next story. The lobby was empty. Quiet. McKenna took the elevator up, heart pounding so loud she could hear it in her ears. The doors opened. The penthouse looked even emptier than before. Most of the boxes were gone now. The furniture that remained looked like ghosts of a life that used to exist, and there, standing by the window with his back to her, was Zaire. He turned slowly when he heard her footsteps. Surprise flickered across his face, then something that looked like hope, then fear. "You shouldn't be here," he said. "I know," McKenna replied. "It's not safe." "I know that too." Zaire's jaw tightened. "McKenna, if they see you with me, I don't care," she said. "You should, but I don't." Silence stretched between them. Heavy. Loaded with everything they hadn't said. "I'm leaving tonight," Zaire said finally. "There's nothing left for me here." McKenna took a step closer. "What about me?" His face cracked, just for a second. Then he pulled it back together. "You deserve better than this," he said. "Better than a man whose family destroyed yours. Better than hiding. Better than running." "Maybe," McKenna said, "but that's not your choice to make. I'm just trying to protect you. I know. But I'm not your responsibility." Zaire looked at her like she'd just stabbed him. "You're not a responsibility. You're—" He stopped, couldn't finish. McKenna finished for him. "I'm what?" Everything, he whispered. The word hung in the air between them. Makina felt her walls crumbling. All the reasons she told herself this couldn't work. All the logic. All the fear. I'm not your maid anymore, she said. I know. I'm older than you. People will talk. I know. Your family destroyed mine. I know. This is complicated. Dangerous. Impossible. I know, Zaire said again. His voice was raw now, breaking. Makina took another step closer. But I see you. Zaire's breath caught. I see what you did, she continued. You didn't chase me, didn't force me, didn't use your power to trap me. You gave me space. You gave me choice. You gave me 4 years to decide if I wanted this. And do you? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Makina looked at him, really looked at him, at the boy who became a man, at the man who chose restraint over control, at the person who loved her enough to let her go. And she realized something that changed everything. Love isn't about perfect timing. It's not about age or class or circumstance. It's about choosing someone even when it's hard, even when it's scary, even when the whole world says it's wrong. How many people wait for permission to love someone? How many hold back because it's complicated? If you've ever loved someone and stayed silent, you know exactly what Makina felt in that moment, and maybe it's time to stop waiting. I choose you, she said. Zaire's eyes widened, like he couldn't believe what he just heard. You don't have to. I choose you, Makina said again, firmer this time. Not because you waited, not because you sacrificed everything, but because you respected me enough to stop waiting, because you gave me the one thing no one else ever did. A choice. Zaire's hand shook. You're sure? Terrified, Makina admitted. But sure. He took a step toward her, slow, careful, like one wrong move could shatter everything. I don't want to hurt you, he said. You already didn't, she replied. Their hands met. No rush, no force, just two people choosing each other despite everything. Zaire pulled her close. Not possessive, just holding. Like he'd been waiting 4 years for this moment and still couldn't believe it was real. We can't stay here, he whispered against her hair. I know. They'll come for us. I know. This isn't a fairy tale. I know, Makina said, but it's ours. Zaire pulled back just enough to look at her face. Then we run. Together. Makina nodded. They were about to leave when Zaire's phone rang. He looked at the screen and froze. What is it? Makina asked. Zaire's face went pale. It's the police, he answered, listened. His expression shifted from fear to confusion to something darker. He hung up. What did they say? Makina asked. Zaire looked at her. They found another body, a woman. Same method as your mother. Makina's heart stopped. Who? Zaire's voice shook. They don't know yet, but they found something at the scene. What? Your name, he said, written on the wall. Makina felt the room spin. This wasn't just about her mother anymore. Someone was sending a message, and Makina just became the next target. My name was on the wall? Makina's voice came out strangled, disbelieving, like maybe if she said it out loud, it would stop being real. Zaire nodded, phone still in his hand. The detective said it was written in red. Fresh. Like whoever did it wanted to make sure it was seen. Makina's legs gave out. Zaire caught her before she hit the floor. This is a message, she whispered. They're telling me I'm next. No, Zaire said firmly. They're trying to scare you, but I won't let them touch you. You can't stop them, Makina said. You said it yourself. Your father's people don't forget. They don't forgive. They erase problems. Then we become a problem they can't erase. Makina looked up at him, at this man who'd already lost everything and was ready to lose more. How? We fight back, Zaire said. We take everything I have left, every document, every secret, every buried truth, and we make it so loud they can't silence it. That's suicide. Maybe, Zaire admitted, but staying quiet is definitely death. Makina's mind raced. Her mother stayed quiet, tried to disappear, and they still found her, still killed her, still made it look like an accident. But what if Makina did the opposite? What if she made so much noise that killing her would only prove she was telling the truth? We'd have to go public, she said. Everything. Your father, my mother, the documents. I know. You'd be arrested. Probably. Your name would be destroyed forever. It already is, Zaire said. But if it saves you, I don't care. Makina stared at him, at the boy who'd grown into a man who understood that love wasn't about possession. It was about protection, even when protection meant losing everything. She stood up slowly, her legs still shook, but her voice didn't. Okay, she said. We do this together. Zaire's eyes widened. You're sure? No, Makina said honestly, but I'm done being afraid. For the first time since the phone call, Zaire smiled. Not a big smile, just a small, sad one that said he understood exactly what she was risking. Then we move now, he said, before they realize we're not running. They gathered everything. Documents, flash drives, files Zaire had been collecting for years, evidence his father tried to bury, evidence that connected powerful people to crimes they thought were forgotten. Makina watched Zaire work, watched him organize everything with the precision of someone who'd been preparing for this moment for a long time. You knew this would happen, she said. Zaire paused. I hoped it wouldn't. But yes, I knew eventually choosing you would mean war. And you still chose me. Every time, he said without hesitation. The city glowed beneath them through the massive windows. The same city that built empires and buried bodies. The same city that protected the powerful and forgot the powerless. But not tonight. Tonight, Makina and Zaire were going to make sure no one forgot. They were about to leave when Makina stopped. Wait, she said. What about my sister? Zaire pulled out his phone. Already handled. I have people moving her to a safe location right now. She'll be protected. People you trust? People who owe me, Zaire said, which is better than trust. Makina nodded. She wanted to believe this would work, that they could expose the truth and survive it. But deep down, she knew better. People who killed her mother weren't going to let this go quietly. They'd fight back. They'd come after her, after Zaire, after everyone they loved. This wasn't the end of their story. It was the beginning of a war neither of them was sure they could win. Zaire reached for her hand. She took it. No matter what happens, he said, I need you to know something. What? I've waited 4 years for this moment. For you. And even if this is all we get, it was worth it. Makina felt tears burn her eyes. Don't talk like we're saying goodbye. I'm not, Zaire said. I'm saying no matter how this ends, I don't regret choosing you. They stood there for a moment, two people about to walk into a fire together. Then Zaire's phone buzzed again. He looked at the screen. His face went white. What is it? Makina asked. Zaire turned the phone toward her. A photo, recent, taken from across the street. It showed the two of them, standing in the penthouse, right now. Below the photo, a message. We see you. You have 24 hours to disappear, or everyone you love dies. Makina's blood turned to ice. They weren't just watching. They were already here, and the 24-hour countdown had just begun. 24 hours felt like a death sentence. Makina stared at the photo on Zaire's phone. The angle was perfect, professional, like whoever took it had been waiting for exactly this moment. They've been watching us the whole time, she whispered. Zaire moved to the window and pulled the curtains closed. The city disappeared behind heavy fabric. We need to leave, he said. Now. Where? They obviously know where we are. Anywhere but here. Makina felt it then. That pressure at the back of her neck. The weight of invisible eyes. the feeling that no matter where they went, someone would be watching. Zaire grabbed his bag, started throwing in the last of the documents. My father built relationships with people who don't forget. People who bury problems before they become public. And I'm the problem, McKenna said. We both are. A knock came at the door. They both froze. The knock came again, heavier this time, more insistent. Zaire moved toward the door slowly. McKenna grabbed his arm. Don't, she whispered. I have to see who it is. He looked through the peephole. His jaw tightened. Who? McKenna asked. 2 men. Suits. Not police. Another knock, then a voice. Mr. Crown, we know you're in there. We just want to talk. Zaire didn't move toward the door, didn't answer. The voice continued. We represent certain interests that would prefer this situation be resolved quietly. What situation? Zaire called through the door. The one where you're about to make a very loud, very permanent mistake. McKenna's phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out. Unknown number, we know who you are. Her hand started shaking. Another message came through immediately. We know where your sister is. McKenna's breath caught. Zaire said his people were protecting her. But what if they weren't fast enough? What if these men had already gotten to her? What do you want? Zaire asked through the door. A conversation, the man replied. Face to face, professional courtesy. We're not opening the door. Then we'll wait. Silence. McKenna's phone buzzed again. Your mother was braver than you. The words hit her like a knife. Her mother died trying to expose these people. Died protecting a truth no one wanted told. And now McKenna was standing in the same position. Same choice. Same consequences. But her mother faced it alone. McKenna wasn't alone. She looked at Zaire. At the man who'd given up everything to protect her. Who'd waited 4 years just to give her a choice. Who was ready to fight a war he couldn't win just to keep her alive. Open the door, she said. Zaire turned to her. What? Open it. Let's hear what they have to say. McKenna, they already know everything, she said. Where we are, who we are, what we're planning. Hiding won't change that. Zaire hesitated. Then slowly, he unlocked the door. It swung open. 2 men stood in the hallway, clean suits, calm faces, the kind of men who looked like they worked in law or finance, the kind you'd never suspect of violence. Thank you, the first man said. He didn't try to enter, just stood there, polite, professional, terrifying. You have 2 minutes, Zaire said. The man smiled. We only need 1. He pulled out a tablet and held it up so they could both see the screen. A live feed. Security camera footage, McKenna's sister, walking into her apartment building. As you can see, the man said, she's safe. For now. McKenna's stomach dropped. Touch her, and we won't, the man interrupted, as long as you make the right choice. What choice? Zaire asked. The man's smile disappeared. The choice to walk away, both of you, tonight. Take the money, take new identities, disappear, and everyone lives. And if we don't? McKenna asked. The man's eyes shifted to her, cold, empty. Then we stop being polite. He turned the tablet around. Another video, another location. Zaire's mother, in a hospital, alone. Your mother's been sick for a while, hasn't she? The man said to Zaire. It would be tragic if something happened to her while she was so vulnerable. Zaire's fists clenched. You're threatening my mother? We're clarifying consequences, the man said. Your father understood how this worked. Clearly, you don't. Have you ever watched someone inherit a war they didn't start? A mess someone else made that became their responsibility? Zaire didn't choose his father's sins, but he's paying for them anyway. And that's the cruelest kind of legacy. The second man, who hadn't spoken yet, finally stepped forward. "You have 24 hours, he said. "After that, people start disappearing. Not you. Not at first. The people you love. One by one. Until there's no one left to protect." Makina felt the walls closing in. "And if we go public?" she asked. "If we release everything?" The first man smiled again. "Then it won't matter, because everyone you love will already be dead." He handed Zaire a business card. "Call this number when you're ready to disappear. Don't make us come back." The two men turned and walked toward the elevator. Zaire slammed the door and locked it. Makina sank against the wall. Her phone buzzed one more time. She looked at the screen. A photo of her sister, asleep in her bed, taken tonight, from inside her apartment. The message below said only one thing. Tick, tock. They were inside her apartment. Makina's voice shook as she stared at the photo. Her sister, asleep, vulnerable. Someone had been standing over her bed, close enough to touch her, close enough to kill her. Zaire paced the room like a caged animal. "We need to move her. Now." "They'll know the second we try," Makina said. "They're watching everything." "Then what do we do? Just wait for them to decide when we die?" Makina looked at him, at the fear in his eyes. Not fear for himself, fear for everyone else. "They don't want us dead," she said slowly. "Not yet." "What do you mean?" "If they wanted us dead, we'd already be gone. They want us scared. They want us to disappear on our own." Zaire stopped pacing. "Because if we disappear voluntarily, there's no investigation, no questions, no evidence." "Exactly." Makina stood up. Her legs still shook, but her mind was clearing. Fear was giving way to something else. Anger. "My mother didn't disappear voluntarily," she said. "She fought, and they killed her for it." "And you want to do the same?" Zaire asked. "No," Makina said. "I want to win." Zaire stared at her. "How?" "By doing what they don't expect." Before Zaire could respond, his phone rang. Different number this time. He answered on speaker. "Mr. Crown." A woman's voice, professional, cold. "I represent the parties who visited you tonight. We already told your people." "I'm not here to negotiate," the woman interrupted. "I'm here to clarify something you seem to have misunderstood." "What's that?" "This isn't about money. This isn't about power. This is about history. And history, Mr. Crown, is written by the people who survive." Makina felt her chest tighten. The woman continued. "Your father understood this. He knew certain truths had to stay buried, not because they were lies, but because they were too dangerous to exist." "My mother was too dangerous to exist?" Makina said into the phone. Silence. Then the woman laughed, not cruel, almost sad. "Your mother was brave," she said. "Braver than most people ever are. But bravery without strategy is just suicide with better intentions." "She tried to expose you," Makina said. "She tried," the woman agreed. "And we tried to warn her. Multiple times. But she wouldn't listen. She thought truth was enough. That justice would protect her. And you proved her wrong." Another pause. "We proved that the world doesn't reward martyrs. It forgets them." Makina's hands balled into fists. "I won't forget her." "We know," the woman said. "That's why we're having this conversation." Zaire spoke up. "What do you want?" "What we've always wanted. Silence. Your father gave us silence for 30 years. We're simply asking you to continue the tradition." "And if we don't?" "Then you'll learn what your father learned," the woman said. "That love makes people careless, and careless people don't live long." The line went dead. Makina and Zaire stood in the silence that followed. The threat wasn't subtle anymore. It wasn't hidden. It was direct. They're going to kill us, McKenna whispered. Not if we expose them first, Zaire said. They'll kill everyone we love. They'll try, Zaire corrected. But we have something they don't. What? Time, he said. They gave us 24 hours. That means they're not ready to move yet. They're waiting for something. For what? Zaire pulled out his laptop and started typing. For us to make a mistake, for panic to take over, for us to run without thinking. So what do? We think, Zaire said. We plan. And we strike before they expect it. McKenna watched him work, watched him pull up files and databases and connections she didn't understand. What are you looking for? She asked. Proof, he said. Not just of what they did, but of who they are. Names, faces, bank accounts, every person involved in covering up your mother's death. You think that'll stop them? No, Zaire said honestly. But it'll make killing us expensive, and powerful people hate expensive problems. McKenna's phone buzzed again. She almost didn't want to look, but she did. Another message, another photo. This time it was Zaire's mother in the hospital, but she wasn't alone anymore. A man in a white coat stood beside her bed. Doctor's uniform, friendly smile, but McKenna recognized him. He was the second man who'd come to the door earlier. The message below said, Your mother died from an accident. His mother could have one too. Accidents happen in hospitals all the time. McKenna showed Zaire the photo. His face went pale. Then something shifted. The fear disappeared. Something colder took its place. That's it, he said quietly. What? They just made their first mistake. How is threatening your mother a mistake? Zaire looked at her. Because now I know they're desperate. Desperate people get sloppy, and sloppy people leave evidence. He grabbed his keys. Where are you going? McKenna asked. To the hospital, he said. To move my mother somewhere they can't reach her. That's exactly what they want, for us to panic, to split up. I know, Zaire said, but I'm not leaving her there. McKenna grabbed his arm. Then we go together. They were about to leave when Zaire's laptop chimed. An email. Sender unknown. The subject line said only, Tick-tock. Zaire opened it. A video file. He clicked play. The screen showed a dark room. A woman tied to a chair, head down, face hidden. Then someone grabbed her hair and yanked her head up. McKenna's sister, bruised, crying, terrified. A voice off camera spoke. You have 12 hours now. We got impatient. The video ended. McKenna couldn't breathe. They didn't just have eyes on her sister, they had her. We're not trading documents for my sister. McKenna's voice cut through the panic. Sharp, final. Zaire looked at her like she'd lost her mind. They have her. They're hurting her. I know, McKenna said. Her hands shook, but her voice didn't. And if we give them what they want, they'll kill her anyway, and us, and everyone. Then what do? Before McKenna could answer, her phone buzzed again. Another message. Unknown number. She left you something. Storage Unit 247, Riverside Facility. Go alone. McKenna showed Zaire. It's a trap, he said immediately. Obviously. Then we don't go. We have to, McKenna said. If my mother left something behind, something they're afraid of, it might be the only leverage we have. Zaire stared at the message. They want us separated. You go to the storage unit, I go to the hospital. We're easier to control when we're apart. Then we go together, McKenna said. To the storage unit first. Then we figure out how to get my sister back. Zaire hesitated, then nodded. Together. They drove in silence. The city blurred past them. McKenna couldn't stop seeing her sister's face in that video. The bruises. The fear. We're going to get her back, Zaire said quietly. McKenna didn't respond. She wanted to believe him, but belief didn't stop bullets, didn't prevent accidents, didn't bring back people who were already gone. The storage facility sat on the edge of the city. Old, run down. The kind of place people used when they didn't have anywhere else to put things they wanted to forget. Unit 247 was in the back. Rusted lock, no cameras. Zaire pulled a tool from his bag and broke the lock. It snapped easily. The door rolled up with a screech. Inside was almost empty, just a metal box in the corner. Makina stepped inside. Her heart pounded. "This is it," she whispered. She knelt down and opened the box. Papers, dozens of them, photocopies, bank statements, contracts, photos, and a handwritten note on top. "If you're reading this, I'm already gone. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you everything, but I couldn't risk them finding out you knew. The truth is, in these documents, names, money, crimes they thought were buried. I documented everything. I tried to expose them, but they're too powerful, too connected. If something happens to me, don't try to avenge me. Just survive. Love, Mom." Makina's eyes burned with tears. Her mother knew. She knew they'd kill her, and she left this behind anyway. Zaire knelt beside her and started going through the documents. His face changed with every page. "This is everything," he breathed. "Shell companies, offshore accounts, political bribes, murders disguised as accidents." "Including my mother's?" Zaire found a folder near the bottom, opened it. Inside was a police report, the one filed after her mother's death, marked as an accident, but stapled to it was another document, an internal memo. "Subject to be neutralized. Make it look accidental. No witnesses." Makina's hands shook as she read it. "They ordered her death," she said, "in writing." "And your mother found it," Zaire said. "She knew, and she copied everything before they could bury it." Have you ever inherited someone else's burden? Carried a truth that wasn't yours to carry? Makina's mother fought this fight alone, and now Makina has to decide if she'll finish it. That's not fair. But fairness doesn't matter when the people you love are already dead. "This is enough to destroy them," Makina said. "If we can get it to the right people," Zaire added. "We will." "Makina," a voice cut through the air behind them. "You were never meant to find that." They both spun around. The man from the penthouse stood in the doorway, calm, smiling, like he'd been waiting for this exact moment. "I was wondering when you'd figure it out," he said. Zaire stood up slowly. "How long have you been following us?" "Since you left the penthouse," the man replied. "We knew you'd come here eventually. Your mother was predictable, Makina. Brave, but predictable." Makina stood too. Her legs felt like they might give out, but she forced herself to stay upright. "You killed her," she said. "I followed orders," the man corrected. "There's a difference." "Not to me." The man shrugged. "Your feelings don't change the outcome. You're standing in a storage unit with documents you can't use, because the moment you try, everyone you love dies." "We already know that," Zaire said. "You've made it very clear." "Good," the man said. "Then you understand why you're going to hand those documents over right now." Makina clutched the folder tighter. "And if we don't?" The man pulled out his phone, tapped the screen, turned it toward them. Another video. Live feed. Makina's sister, still tied to the chair. But now there was someone standing behind her, holding a gun to her head. "You have 10 seconds, the man said. "Hand over the documents or watch your sister die." Makina's breath stopped. 10. Zaire looked at Makina. "Don't." 9. "She's my sister," Makina whispered. 8. "If you give them those documents, she dies anyway," Zaire said. "They can't leave witnesses." 7. Makina's hands shook. The folder felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. 6. She looked at her sister on the screen, crying, terrified. 5. Then she looked at the documents, her mother's final act, her legacy. 4. Makina made a choice. 3. She dropped the folder. 2. reached into her pocket, won, and pulled out her phone. I already uploaded everything to the cloud, she said. Kill her and it goes public, automatically. The man's smile disappeared. You're bluffing. Try me, McKenna said. For the first time, the man looked uncertain. Then his phone rang. He answered, listened. His face went pale. When? He asked into the phone. He hung up, looked at them. You just made the biggest mistake of your life. What happened? Zaire asked. The man's jaw clenched. Someone just leaked those documents, 5 minutes ago, to every major news outlet in the country. McKenna's heart stopped. That's impossible. I didn't. Not you, the man said. Then who? The man's phone rang again. He looked at the screen. His face twisted with rage. Your sister just went live on social media, he said, broadcasting everything. McKenna stared at him. What? He turned the phone toward them. Her sister, no longer tied up, free, standing in what looked like a police station, speaking into a camera. My name is Amara, and I'm about to tell you how my mother was murdered. The man looked at McKenna and Zaire. You just started a war you can't win. Then he ran. How did she get free? McKenna's voice shook as she watched her sister on the phone screen. Amara stood in what looked like a police station, speaking calmly into a camera. Alive. Safe. Free. Zaire grabbed McKenna's arm. We need to go. Now. Wait. They're going to come back, Zaire said. And this time, they won't be polite. They ran to the car. McKenna's mind spun. Her sister was supposed to be tied to a chair, supposed to be their hostage, their leverage. But she wasn't, which meant everything just changed. Zaire drove fast, too fast. The city blurred past them. Where are we going? McKenna asked. Police station. Where your sister is. They'll be waiting for us. I know, Zaire said, but it's the only public place we'll be safe. McKenna's phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but she did. You think you won. The woman's voice from earlier, cold, controlled. You didn't. My sister's alive, McKenna said. She's talking. The documents are out. You lost. No, the woman said. We adapted. What does that mean? It means your sister made a choice, and now you have to make one too. McKenna's chest tightened. What choice? The documents are public, the woman said. That part is done, but evidence without context is just noise, and we control the narrative. What are you talking about? We're going to say your sister is mentally unstable, that she fabricated everything because she wanted attention, that your mother was a thief who stole company documents and tried to blackmail powerful people. No one will believe that. They will when we show them the proof, the woman said. Bank accounts in your mother's name. Fake ones, of course, but convincing. Therapy records for your sister. Also fake, but detailed. By tomorrow morning, your family will look like criminals and liars. McKenna felt the air leave her lungs. Unless, the woman continued. Unless what? You recant. Both of you. You go on camera and say you made a mistake, that you were confused, grieving, that none of it is true. And if we don't, then we destroy what's left of your family's name. Your sister will never work again. Never be trusted. She'll spend the rest of her life defending herself against lies we planted. McKenna's hands clenched. You can't do that. We already are. The line went dead. McKenna stared at the phone. Zaire glanced at her while driving. What did they say? They're going to destroy my sister's credibility, McKenna said. Make her look crazy. Make my mother look like a criminal. They're lying. They're not, McKenna said. They're powerful enough to make lies look like truth. Zaire's jaw tightened. Then we fight back. We give interviews. We show proof. We don't let them control the story. They already control it, McKenna said. They control the media, the money, The connections. We're just two people against an empire. They pulled up to the police station, news vans everywhere, cameras, reporters, chaos. McKenna saw her sister through the window, surrounded by police, still talking. She's brave, Zaire said quietly. She's going to get destroyed, McKenna replied. They got out of the car and pushed through the crowd. Reporters shouted questions. Cameras flashed. Ms. McKenna, is it true your mother was murdered? Did Zaire Crown help you expose his father? Are you in a relationship with Mr. Crown? They didn't answer, just pushed forward until they reached the police station doors. Inside, Amara sat at a desk, giving a statement. When she saw McKenna, she stood up. They ran to each other. McKenna held her sister tight. How did you get out? They let me go, Amara said. Right before I went live, they got a phone call. Someone told them to release me. Who? I don't know, Amara said. But whoever it was, they saved my life. A detective approached them. Hubbard Finnes, man, tired eyes. Ms. McKenna, he said, we need to talk about these documents your sister mentioned. They're real, McKenna said. I believe you, the detective said, but we need to verify them. Chain of custody. Proper procedure. Otherwise, they won't hold up in court. How long will that take? Weeks. Maybe months. McKenna's heart sank. They'll bury everything by then. The detective looked uncomfortable. I'm doing what I can. But these people you're accusing have lawyers, resources. They'll fight this every step of the way. A commotion erupted outside. Shouting. More cameras. The detective looked toward the windows. His face went pale. What? McKenna asked. They're here. McKenna turned. Through the window she saw them. The men in suits. The woman on the phone. All of them. Standing outside the police station with their own cameras, their own reporters. And they were giving a press conference. One of the detectives turned on the TV in the corner. The woman appeared on screen. Calm. Professional. Sympathetic. We are deeply saddened by these accusations, she said. Ms. McKenna and her sister have been through tremendous trauma. The loss of their mother was tragic, but these documents they're referencing are fabrications. Desperate attempts to blame others for a terrible accident. That's a lie, Amara shouted at the TV. The woman continued. We have evidence that Ms. McKenna's mother was involved in theft and extortion before her death. We didn't want to release this information out of respect for the family. But given these false accusations, we have no choice. She held up a folder. Bank records, therapy notes. All of it proving that this family is not what they claim to be. McKenna felt her world crumbling. They weren't just denying it. They were rewriting history in real time. The detective looked at McKenna. Is any of that true? No, McKenna said. It's all fake. Can you prove it? McKenna opened her mouth, then closed it. Because she couldn't. Not fast enough. Not convincingly enough. And that's exactly what they were counting on. Zaire stepped forward. I can prove it. Everyone turned to him. How? The detective asked. Because I have the original files, Zaire said. From my father's personal server. Time-stamped. Authenticated. Everything they're claiming is fake, I can prove in court. The woman on TV smiled, like she'd been waiting for this. And there it is, she said into the camera. Zaire Crown, a disgraced CEO with a vendetta against his own family, supporting a woman he's romantically involved with. How convenient. She looked directly into the camera, like she was looking at them. This isn't about truth. This is about revenge, and we won't let it stand. The press conference ended. The detective looked at Zaire and McKenna. You two need to leave. Now. This just became a media war. And police stations aren't safe when lawyers get involved. What about my sister? McKenna asked. She stays here, the detective said. Protective custody, until we sort this out. No, Amara said. I'm not hiding. You don't have a choice, the detective said. Someone just put a target on your back. Before anyone could argue, the lights went out. The entire police station went dark. Emergency lights kicked in, red, dim. The detective grabbed his radio. What happened? Static, then a voice. Power's been cut, backup generators online, but someone breached the perimeter. The detective pulled his gun. Get them to the back room, now. Who breached the perimeter? Zaire asked. The detective didn't answer. But through the windows, McKenna saw them. Figures in the darkness, moving toward the building. Too many to count, and they weren't police. The figures moved through the darkness like shadows with purpose. Get down, the detective shouted. McKenna dropped to the floor. Zaire covered her. Amara screamed, glass shattered, not from gunfire, from something else. Tear gas, someone yelled. White smoke poured through the broken windows. McKenna's eyes burned, her lungs seized. Hands grabbed her. Zaire, pulling her toward the back. We need to get out, he shouted over the chaos. They stumbled through the smoke. Officers rushed past them toward the front, shouting, confusion. The emergency lights flickered. The detective led them to a back exit. My car. Go, now. What about my sister? McKenna coughed. I've got her, the detective said. You two are the primary targets. Split up. Move. They burst through the back door into an alley. The detective's car sat 20 feet away. Zaire and McKenna ran. They made it 10 feet before headlights flooded the alley. A van. Black. No plates. The doors opened. Men stepped out. Not police. Not military. Something worse. Professional. Organized. End of the line, one of them said. McKenna felt Zaire tense beside her. He was calculating, looking for exits that didn't exist. Then sirens. Loud. Multiple. Coming from every direction. The men hesitated. More headlights. Police cars flooding the alley from both ends. The men retreated to their van. One of them looked at McKenna. This isn't over, he said. They drove away before the police could block them. McKenna collapsed against the wall. Her lungs burned. Her eyes watered. But she was alive. The detective emerged from the building with Amara. You two okay? McKenna nodded. Couldn't speak yet. Who were they? Zaire asked. Private security, the detective said. Probably hired by whoever you're trying to expose. They won't stop. Then what do we do? Amara asked. The detective looked at them. You go public. Louder. Bigger. Make it so the whole world is watching. They can't kill you if everyone's looking. How? McKenna asked. Press conference, the detective said. Tomorrow morning. Major networks. You tell everything. With proof. On camera. No filters, no edits. They'll destroy us, Zaire said. They'll try, the detective agreed. But if you do it right, if you tell the truth loud enough, people will listen. McKenna looked at Zaire, then at her sister. Are you ready for this? Amara nodded. Mom wasn't, but we are. The next morning came too fast. They stood in front of a room full of cameras, reporters, live feeds streaming to millions. McKenna's hands shook as she held the microphone. My name is McKenna, she began. And 6 years ago, my mother was murdered because she found documents that powerful people wanted buried. The room went silent. Today I'm releasing everything she found, every name, every crime, every cover-up. Because staying silent didn't protect her, and it won't protect us. Zaire stepped forward. My father was part of this. I'm not defending him. I'm here to make sure his sins end with him. He held up a folder. These are authenticated files from his personal server. Bank accounts, shell companies. Orders to silence witnesses, including McKenna's mother. The reporters erupted with questions. Cameras flashed. McKenna didn't. Stop. We know this puts a target on our backs. We know they'll try to discredit us, destroy us, but the truth is out now, and the truth doesn't disappear just because someone wants it to. Within hours, the story exploded. News coverage everywhere, social media on fire, names trending, powerful people scrambling. 3 CEOs resigned. 2 politicians announced they wouldn't seek re-election. 4 arrests were made. The system was cracking. But systems don't crack quietly. McKenna's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Threats, support, media requests, death threats mixed with messages of solidarity. "It's working," Zaire said as they watched the coverage from a safe house the police provided. "Or it's making them desperate," McKenna replied. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost ignored it. But something made her answer. "You think you won?" a voice said. Not the woman, someone else. Older, tired. "You just made everything worse. Who is this?" "Someone who tried to stop this 20 years ago," the man said. "Your mother wasn't the first. She was just the most recent." McKenna's blood went cold. "What do you mean?" "They don't just silence people," the man said. "They erase them. And everyone connected to them. Your press conference just put every person you love on a list." "We're already on a list." "Not like this," the man said. "Before they wanted you quiet. Now they want you gone. There's a difference." "Are you threatening me?" "I'm warning you," he said. "Because collateral damage doesn't care about justice. It just cares about numbers." The line went dead. McKenna looked at Zaire. He said everyone we love is now a target. Before Zaire could respond, the detective burst into the room. His face was pale. "We have a problem." "What?" "Your sister," he said. "She left protective custody. Said she had somewhere she needed to be." "Where?" "We don't know," the detective said. "She disconnected her phone, disabled her tracker." McKenna felt her chest cave in. When? An hour ago. An hour. That was 60 minutes for them to find her, 60 minutes to hurt her, 60 minutes to send a message. "We need to find her," McKenna said. "We're trying," the detective said. "But she left voluntarily. She's not missing. She's just gone." McKenna's phone buzzed again. A photo. Recent. Amara. Standing in front of a building. Alive. Unharmed. But the building behind her was on fire, and the message below said, "She came to us." Said she wanted to make a deal. "We're listening. Are you?" McKenna stared at the screen. Her sister didn't run. She didn't hide. She walked straight into the fire, and now McKenna had to decide if she was brave enough to follow. "She's negotiating with them?" McKenna's voice came out hollow, disbelieving. Her sister wasn't supposed to be brave. She was supposed to stay hidden. Stay safe. "We need to get her out," Zaire said. The detective shook his head. "That building is private property. We can't just storm it without cause." "The fire is cause," McKenna said. "The fire's already out," the detective replied. "Small. Contained. Probably just meant to send a message." It worked. McKenna's phone buzzed again. Another message. "Your sister is safe, for now. She offered us a trade, herself for you. We're considering it." McKenna's hands went numb. "What does it say?" Zaire asked. She showed him. His face went dark. "No. Absolutely not. She's trying to protect me," McKenna whispered. "And we're going to protect her," Zaire said. "Together. We're not splitting up." Another message came through. "One final meeting. Just you. Pier 49, midnight. Come alone or your sister pays the price." McKenna looked at the time. 4 hours. "It's a trap," the detective said. "I know," McKenna replied. "Then you can't go." "I have to." Zaire grabbed her shoulders. "Listen to me. They want you isolated, vulnerable. The second you walk in there alone, you're dead." "Maybe," McKenna said. But my sister is alive right now. If I don't go, she won't be. We'll find another way. There is no other way, McKenna said. Her voice didn't shake anymore. Something had shifted inside her. Fear was burning away, leaving only resolve. They've been one step ahead this entire time. The only way to change that is to give them what they want. Which is you dead, Zaire said. Which is me quiet, McKenna corrected. They want me to disappear, to stop talking, to let them rewrite history. And you think walking into their trap will stop that? No, McKenna said, but it'll buy time. The detective stepped forward. For what? For the truth to spread, McKenna said. The documents are already out. The story is already public. Killing me now won't bury it. It'll just make me a martyr. That's not comforting, Zaire said. It's not supposed to be, McKenna replied. It's strategy. She looked at him, at this man who'd waited 4 years, who'd destroyed his own life to protect hers, who was ready to walk into hell beside her. I need you to trust me, she said. I do trust you, Zaire said. I don't trust them. Neither do I, McKenna admitted. But my sister trusted me enough to walk into that building. I have to trust her plan. What plan? McKenna pulled up the photo again, looked closer at the background, the building, the windows, the angle. She's not a hostage, McKenna said slowly. She's a witness. What do you mean? Look at where she's standing, McKenna said. She's in front of windows, public view. Cameras probably everywhere. They can't hurt her without being seen. Zaire looked at the photo. So she made herself visible on purpose. Exactly, McKenna said. She walked in there knowing they couldn't kill her without consequences. She's forcing them to negotiate in the open. Then why do they want you alone? The detective asked. Because I'm the one they actually want, McKenna said. She's just leverage. But if I show up, they'll trade. And then kill you, Zaire said. Maybe, McKenna said. But not immediately. Not publicly, which means I'll have time. Time for what? To record everything, McKenna said. To get them on camera admitting what they did. To my mother, to others, all of it. The detective frowned. You want to wear a wire? No, McKenna said. Wires can be found. I want to live stream it. Silence filled the room. Zaire stared at her. You're going to broadcast your own execution? I'm going to broadcast their confession, McKenna said. They think I'm walking in there to surrender, but I'm walking in there to finish what my mother started. This is insane, Zaire said. This is the only move they won't expect, McKenna replied. She looked at the clock. 3 hours now. I need equipment, she said to the detective. Camera, audio, something small enough to hide but strong enough to broadcast. The detective hesitated, then nodded. I'll make some calls. He left the room. McKenna turned to Zaire. He looked like he wanted to argue, to stop her, to lock her in the room and never let her leave. But he didn't. You waited 4 years so I could choose, McKenna said quietly. Let me choose this. Zaire's jaw clenched. I waited 4 years so you could choose me. Not death. I'm not choosing death, McKenna said. I'm choosing truth, just like my mother did. Your mother died. Because she was alone, McKenna said. I'm not alone. I have you. I have my sister. I have millions of people watching now. They can't make me disappear the way they made her disappear. Zaire pulled her close, held her like he might never get another chance. If something happens to you, he started. Then you finish this, McKenna said. You make sure everyone knows. You don't let them rewrite history. I won't have to, Zaire whispered, because you're coming back. McKenna wanted to believe him. Wanted to believe that courage was enough, that truth was enough, that love was enough. But her mother believed those things too, and she still died. 3 hours later, McKenna stood at Pier 49, alone. The detective had given her a device, small, hidden, broadcasting to a secure server that would auto-publish if anything happened to her. Zaire had begged her one more time not to go. She went anyway. The pier was empty, dark, just her and the sound of water against wood. Then headlights. A car pulled up, doors opened, 3 figures stepped out. McKenna recognized one of them, the woman from the phone calls. "You came alone," the woman said. "Good. Where's my sister?" "Safe," the woman said. "For now." "I want proof." The woman held up a phone. Live video. Amara, sitting in a room, unharmed but afraid. "There's your proof," the woman said. "Now let's talk about yours." "My what?" "Your survival," the woman said. "You've caused us significant trouble, but we're willing to let you live." "In exchange for what?" "Silence," the woman said simply. "You disappear. Your sister disappears. You never speak about this again, and we let you both walk away." "And if I say no?" The woman smiled. "Then you'll join your mother." McKenna felt the cold night air against her skin, felt the weight of the hidden camera, felt the millions of eyes that might be watching. "My mother didn't stay silent," McKenna said. "Neither will I." The woman's smile faded. "Then you've chosen death." She nodded to the men beside her. They moved toward McKenna, and that's when the gunshot rang out. The gunshot echoed across the water. McKenna dropped to the ground. Not from a bullet, from instinct. The men beside the woman froze, confused, looking around for the shooter. Another shot. This one hit the ground between them. "Warning shots," a voice boomed through a megaphone. "Police, hands where we can see them." Headlights flooded the pier from every direction. Police cars, SWAT vehicles, helicopters overhead. The woman's face twisted with rage. "You brought them." "No," McKenna said, standing up slowly. "I brought the whole world." She pulled out her phone, showed the screen. Live feed, active, 70,000 viewers, climbing by the second. "Everything you just said is being broadcast right now," McKenna said. "Every threat, every confession, everyone watching just heard you admit to killing my mother." The woman's eyes went wide. "You're bluffing." "Am I?" McKenna turned the phone toward the woman. The comment section scrolled past. Thousands of people typing in real time, recording, screenshotting, sharing. The woman lunged for the phone. McKenna stepped back. And that's when Zaire appeared from behind one of the police vehicles. "It's over," he said. The woman turned to him. "You think this ends with an arrest? With a trial? We have lawyers, connections, money. We'll be out before morning." "Maybe," Zaire said. "But you'll never be invisible again." Police surrounded them. The men put their hands up. The woman stood still, calculating. "This isn't how this ends," she said. "It already has," McKenna replied. The detective walked forward with handcuffs. "You're all under arrest, conspiracy, assault, and about 50 other charges we're still counting." The woman looked at McKenna one last time. "You just signed your death warrant." "No," McKenna said. "I signed yours." They took them away. The pier went quiet except for the sound of police radios and helicopter blades. McKenna stood there, shaking. The adrenaline that had kept her moving finally drained away. Zaire walked toward her slowly. "Shh, you did it." "Where's my sister?" "Safe," Zaire said. "They found her 20 minutes ago. She's with the detective. Unharmed." McKenna's knees gave out. Zaire caught her before she hit the ground, and for the first time since this whole nightmare started, McKenna cried. Not quiet tears. Deep, broken sobs that came from a place she didn't know existed. All the fear, all the grief, all the weight of carrying her mother's truth. It poured out of her. Zaire held her, didn't try to stop it, Didn't tell her it was okay, just held her while she fell apart. I was so scared, she whispered through the tears. I know. I thought they were going to kill me. I know. I thought I'd never see you again. Zaire pulled back just enough to look at her face. I would have burned down the entire city to find you. Makina almost smiled through the tears. That's not healthy. Neither is walking into a trap alone, Zaire said, but you did it anyway. I had to. I know, he said. That's what scared me. They sat there on the pier while police processed the scene, while helicopters circled overhead, while the live stream continued, showing the world what justice looked like when it finally arrived. Have you ever watched someone break after holding it together for too long? That moment when strength finally runs out and all that's left is the truth. Makina held her family together, carried her mother's legacy, fought an empire, and she won. But winning doesn't erase the cost. Remember that. The detective approached them. We need statements, but it can wait until morning. What happens now? Makina asked. Now we build a case, the detective said. With what you captured tonight, plus the documents you released, we have enough to bring down everyone involved. How long will it take? Months, the detective admitted. Maybe years. These people have resources. They'll fight. Let them fight, Makina said. I'm not hiding anymore. The detective nodded. Your sister asked about you. She's at the station if you want to see her. Makina stood up. Zaire helped her. They drove to the station in silence. The city passed by like a dream, familiar but different, like she was seeing it for the first time. When they walked into the station, Amara ran to her. They held each other, no words, just presence. You're insane, Amara finally said. So are you, Makina replied, walking into that building alone. I learned from the best. They pulled apart. Amara looked at Zaire. Thank you for protecting her. She protected herself, Zaire said. I just showed up at the end. You showed up when it mattered, Amara said. The detective brought them coffee. They sat in a conference room while officers worked around them. What do we do now? Amara asked. We rebuild, Makina said. We tell our story. We make sure Mom's name is cleared. And then what? Makina looked at Zaire. At this man who'd waited 4 years, who'd lost everything, who'd walked into the fire beside her without hesitation. Then we live, she said. They stayed at the station until dawn, giving statements, answering questions, watching as the arrests multiplied, as the story spread, as the world slowly started to understand what had been buried for so long. By morning, 12 people were in custody. More warrants were being issued. The investigation had gone from local to federal. It was working. But as they walked out of the station into the early morning light, Makina's phone buzzed one more time. Unknown number. She almost didn't open it. But she did. A photo. Recent, taken from across the street. Her and Zaire, leaving the station. The message below said, "You got the soldiers, but you didn't get the general. He's still out there, and he's coming for you." Makina's blood ran cold. They hadn't won. They'd just started a war with someone they hadn't even seen yet, and whoever he was already watching. 6 months later, the world looked different. Makina woke to sunlight streaming through curtains that weren't expensive, in a bed that wasn't in a penthouse, beside a man who'd lost everything and somehow still smiled. Zaire was already awake, making coffee in a kitchen that was smaller than his old bathroom. "You're up early," Makina said from the doorway. "Couldn't sleep," he replied. "Trial starts in 3 days." The trial. The one the entire country was watching. 14 defendants, hundreds of charges. Makina was the key witness. "Nervous?" she asked. "Terrified," Zaire admitted. "You?" Same. They sat at a small table with their coffee. No crystal, no marble floors, just 2 mugs and morning light. This was their life now. Quiet, simple. A tiny apartment on the edge of the city. No staff, no security, no empire, just them. Do you regret it? McKenna asked softly. Regret what? Waiting. Choosing me. Losing everything. Zaire looked at her over his coffee. I regret nothing that gave you freedom. You lost your company. Your money. Your name. I lost things, Zaire said. I didn't lose what mattered. Which is? You, he said simply. And the ability to look at myself in the mirror. McKenna smiled. A real one. The kind she couldn't remember making before all of this. The past 6 months had been chaos. Arrests, hearings, media everywhere, death threats mixed with support, their faces on every screen, their story dissected by strangers. But slowly, the noise faded, the headlines moved on, and they were left with this, a small apartment, morning coffee, quiet moments, healing. Your sister called. Yesterday, Zaire said. She got accepted into the graduate program. She told me, McKenna said. She's thriving. Because of you. Because of us, McKenna corrected. You paid for the therapy, the security. All of it. With money I should have given away years ago, Zaire said. They sat in comfortable silence. The kind that only comes after surviving something together. But outside their small apartment, the world hadn't forgotten. Camera crews still camped outside sometimes. Reporters still called. Strangers still recognized them on the street. Some people saw them as heroes. Others saw them as troublemakers who'd destroyed powerful families and destabilized institutions. The trial would decide which version of them the world would remember. What if we lose? McKenna asked quietly. We won't, Zaire said. The evidence is too strong. Your testimony is too powerful. But if we do? Zaire reached across the table and took her hand. Then we tried, and that's more than most people do. A knock came at the door. They both tensed. Old habits. Zaire checked the peephole. It's the detective. He opened the door. The detective looked tired. Older. Like the past 6 months had aged him too. Sorry to come by unannounced, he said, but we have a problem. What kind of problem? McKenna asked. The kind where one of our witnesses disappeared last night, the detective said. McKenna's stomach dropped. Who? Thomas Green. He was going to testify about the financial transfers. Without him, we lose a major piece of the case. Disappeared how? Zaire asked. His apartment was empty. Phone off. No signs of struggle. He just vanished. They got to him, McKenna said. We don't know that, the detective said, but his face said otherwise. The general, McKenna said. The one they warned us about. He's cleaning up loose ends before the trial. The detective didn't argue. We've increased security. Put protective details on all remaining witnesses. But if he's as connected as we think, that might not be enough. What about us? Zaire asked. You're safe, the detective said. Too public to disappear. But the others? The ones testifying behind closed doors? They're vulnerable. McKenna felt the old fear creeping back. The one she'd spent 6 months learning to live without. How many witnesses do we have left? She asked. 8, the detective said. But if more disappear, the case gets weaker. Then we need to find him, McKenna said. The general. Before he finds them. We've been trying, the detective said. But he's a ghost. No name. No face. Just influence. Everyone has a name, Zaire said. My father knew him. There has to be something in the files. We've been through everything, the detective said. Then we haven't looked hard enough. The detective left with a promise to keep them updated, but the damage was done. The peace they'd been building for 6 months felt fragile now. That night, McKenna couldn't sleep. She stood by the window, looking out at the city. Somewhere out there, a man she'd never met was erasing people to protect secrets she'd already exposed. "He's not going to stop," she said when she felt Zaire's presence behind her. "No," Zaire agreed, "but neither are we." "We're not soldiers," McKenna said. "We're just two people trying to survive." "We're two people who already won once," Zaire said. "We can do it again." McKenna wanted to believe him, but winning once didn't guarantee winning twice. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. She ignored it. It buzzed again. Zaire picked it up. His face went pale. "What?" McKenna asked. He showed her the screen. A news alert. Breaking. Second witness in Crone trial found dead. Suicide suspected. Below it, a message from an unknown number. TikTok. 3 days until trial. 8 witnesses left. How many will make it to the stand? McKenna felt the room spin. "He's not hiding anymore," she whispered. "No," Zaire said. "He's hunting." And they'd just become the prey. Again. The next morning, another witness went missing. By afternoon, a fourth was found dead. The trial was 3 days away, and the general was winning. 4 witnesses left. 2 days until trial. McKenna sat across from a journalist in their small apartment. The detective had suggested it. One final interview before the trial. To remind the world why this mattered. The journalist was young, professional, careful with her questions. "Do you regret choosing him?" she asked, gesturing toward Zaire in the kitchen. McKenna looked at the woman, then at Zaire, then back. "I didn't choose him," McKenna said. "I chose myself. He just walked beside me." The journalist leaned forward. "Can you explain that?" "For years, I made choices based on survival," McKenna said. "Work, bills, safety. I never chose anything for me. Not really." "And Zaire changed that?" "No," McKenna said. "He gave me space to change it myself. He waited. He protected. But he never forced. The choice was always mine. Even when it put you in danger?" "Especially then," McKenna said, "because that's when choice matters most. When it costs something." The journalist wrote notes. "And now? With everything that's happened? The deaths? The threats? Do you still think it was worth it?" McKenna's voice didn't waver. "My mother died trying to expose the truth. I'd rather die finishing what she started than live pretending it never happened." The journalist finished writing, thanked them, left. The apartment went quiet again. Zaire sat beside McKenna on the couch. "You okay?" "I don't know," McKenna admitted. 4 people are dead because we spoke up. 4 families destroyed because we wouldn't stay silent." 4 people are dead because someone else killed them," Zaire said. "Not because of us." "Tell that to their families." Zaire took her hand. "McKenna, look at me." She did. "This is what they want," he said. "They want you to feel guilty, to second guess, to break. But you're not responsible for what evil people do to protect their secrets. Then who is?" "They are," Zaire said, "and when this trial is over, everyone will know it." McKenna wanted to believe him, but belief felt dangerous now. "What if the trial fails?" she asked. "What if the general kills the rest of the witnesses before they can testify?" "Then we testify," Zaire said. "You and me. We tell everything. We make sure the truth doesn't die with them." McKenna looked at him, at this man who'd given up everything, who'd stood beside her through chaos and violence and loss. "Why did you wait 4 years?" she asked suddenly. Zaire blinked. "What?" "You could have told me how you felt sooner. You could have made a move. Why wait?" Zaire was quiet for a moment. Then he stood up and knelt in front of her. "Because rushing someone into love is just another form of control," he said. and I refused to control you. McKenna's breath caught. I waited because you deserved time, Zaire continued. Time to see me. Time to trust me. Time to choose without pressure. Zaire, I'm not asking you to marry me, he said. Not yet. Not until this is over and you're safe and free. Then what are you asking? Zaire looked up at her. I'm asking if you'll keep choosing me, even when it's hard. Even when people die and the world judges us and nothing makes sense. McKenna felt tears burn her eyes. Because that's what love is, Zaire said. It's not the 4 years I waited. It's every day after that you choose to stay. How many people ask for commitment by acknowledging the cost? By saying, this will be hard and I'm asking anyway? Most people promise easy. Zaire promised truth. And maybe that's the kind of love worth fighting for. Yes, McKenna whispered. Yes. Yes, she said stronger. I'll keep choosing you, even when it's impossible. Zaire stood and pulled her into his arms. They held each other in the quiet apartment. No ring, no proposal. Just a promise that they'd face whatever came next together. But as they stood there, McKenna felt it again. That pressure at the back of her neck. That weight of invisible eyes. She pulled away and walked to the window. Looked down at the street. A car sat across the road. Engine off. Windows tinted. It had been there for 3 days. Zaire, she said quietly. He joined her at the window. I see it. Should we call the detective? Already did, Zaire said. He said it's not his people. Then whose? Before Zaire could answer, McKenna's phone rang. Unknown number. She answered on speaker. Hello, McKenna. A man's voice, older, calm, unfamiliar. Who is this? You can call me the General, he said. I thought it was time we spoke directly. McKenna's blood went cold. Zaire grabbed his phone to call the police. Don't bother, the man said. This line is untraceable. And I'll be brief. What do you want? McKenna asked. To offer you a choice, he said. One final chance to walk away. We're not walking away. Then you're sentencing more people to death. The man said. 4 witnesses gone. 4 more left. The trial is in 2 days. I can make all of them disappear before then. The police will protect them. The police can't protect everyone, he said. Not from me. Then we'll testify without them, McKenna said. The man laughed, not cruel, almost sad. You don't understand. I'm not trying to stop the trial. I'm trying to stop you. Why? Because you remind people that the system can be beaten, he said. That truth matters. That justice is possible. And I can't allow that. You can't stop us. I already have, the man said. Look at your window. McKenna looked down. The car was gone, but someone was standing on the sidewalk now, looking directly up at their apartment, holding a phone. The man on the call spoke again. 2 days, McKenna. Enjoy them. Because after the trial starts, one way or another, this ends. The line went dead. The person on the sidewalk walked away, and McKenna realized something terrifying. The general wasn't hiding anymore. He was making his final move, and they were running out of time to stop him. 3 years later, everything changed. The trial lasted 8 months. 27 people were convicted. The general was never found, but his network collapsed without him. McKenna testified for 6 days straight. The jury believed her. The world believed her. Her mother's name was cleared. Justice, slow and imperfect, finally arrived. But that's not where this story ends. 3 years later, McKenna stood in a small kitchen. Not a penthouse, not marble floors or crystal chandeliers, just a kitchen with worn counters and morning light streaming through cheap curtains. Zaire stood behind her, arms wrapped around her waist, chin resting on her shoulder. I waited 4 years for you, he whispered. McKenna smiled. and I chose you every day after." They weren't famous anymore. The headlines had moved on. New scandals, new heroes, new villains. The world forgot them the way it forgets everything that doesn't feed the algorithm, and they were grateful. This was their life now. Small apartment, quiet mornings, no cameras, no threats, no empires, just them. Amara had graduated, started her own nonprofit helping families navigate legal systems. She visited every Sunday. Zaire worked as a consultant now, helping companies clean up corruption before it destroyed them. He made a fraction of what he used to, but he slept better. Makina taught part-time at a community college. Business ethics. She told her mother's story to every class, made sure no one forgot what silence cost. They weren't rich, weren't powerful, weren't the people magazines wrote about anymore, but they were free. "Do you miss it?" Makina asked. "The money, the influence, the old life." Zaire was quiet for a moment. "I miss believing I was a good person while benefiting from my father's crimes," said no one ever. Makina laughed, a real one. "I don't miss who I was," Zaire said. "I like who I became." "And who's that?" "Someone who knows the difference between power and strength," he said. "Someone who learned that waiting is harder than taking. And that love isn't about owning someone, it's about giving them space to be whole." Makina turned in his arms. "You really waited 4 years just to see if I'd notice you?" "I waited 4 years so you could choose freely," Zaire corrected. "There's a difference." "And if I never chose you?" "Then I would have spent the rest of my life knowing I did the right thing," Zaire said, "and that would have been enough." Makina kissed him. Soft, grateful, complete. They weren't a fairy tale. Fairy tales don't have trials and death threats and years of therapy. Fairy tales don't require you to lose everything to find out what actually matters. They were proof. Proof that love built on choice outlasts love built on control. Proof that truth, no matter how buried, eventually finds light. Proof that ordinary people can stand against empires and win, not perfectly, not without cost, but win nonetheless. "Your mother would be proud," Zaire said. Makina's eyes misted. "She'd probably tell me I was reckless." "You were. And that I should have been more careful." "You should have. And that loving you was complicated and messy and dangerous." "It was," Zaire agreed. "It still is." "Then why does it feel so simple now?" Makina asked. "Because we survived the hard part," Zaire said. "Everything after survival is just living." Outside their small apartment, the city moved on. People rushed to work, chased dreams, built empires, destroyed them. The cycle continued. But inside, in this small kitchen with cheap coffee and morning light, 2 people who'd fought for the right to choose each other stood quietly. No cameras, no audience, no validation from strangers. Just presence. And that was enough. "I love you," Makina said. "I know," Zaire replied. "You chose me. That's louder than any words." They stood there, healing, building, surviving. Because that's what love is when it's real. Not the moment you fall, not the confession, not the dramatic gesture. It's every morning after, every choice to stay, every quiet moment when you realize you'd rather have this person and nothing else than everything else without them. Makina and Zaire weren't perfect, weren't healed, weren't done fighting their demons, but they were together, and they were proof that sometimes the most powerful act of rebellion is choosing love when the world says you shouldn't. You didn't just hear a story, you witnessed one. You saw 2 people fight an empire, saw them lose everything, saw them choose each other anyway, and if that doesn't make you believe that truth and choice and love still matter in this world, then maybe nothing will. But if it does, if their story meant something to you, don't let it end here. Share it. Tell it. Remember it. Because stories like this don't survive on their own. They survive because people like you refuse to let them die. Subscribe.